Hi, I'm Neil Hill. I'm here with Bodybuilding.com. I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm an ex-professional bodybuilder, trainer and nutritionist for Gutsbari TV, and also writer and columnist for reader publications. I'm here to talk to you a little bit about training, nutrition, the importance of supplementation, how to bring your body to the next level. I actually got involved with bodybuilding really just by chance when I was 19 years of age. It wasn't a sport that I inspired in a sense, because where I live back in the UK, it's in the middle of nowhere, so bodybuilding never really existed. But I sort of met up with a guy one day, went to the gym, and then straight away I got the bug. I consistently trained heavy because that was the way that I felt was the way forward to build muscle mass. But what I found is I consistently picked up injuries, and it wasn't due to the fact that my form was incorrect or it was sloppy. It was just to the fact that maybe my biomechanics as an athlete were maybe not in the same way foundation as maybe a powerlifter or weightlifter, for instance. So what I actually had to do is I had to reduce the weight that I was lifting and actually increase the rep range just to try and buffer the injury that I was carrying, maybe a shoulder injury that I picked up on bench press, for instance. And by getting away from the ego lifting, even though my form may look perfect to the eye, what I wasn't doing is contracting and squeezing on each repetition. And by dropping the weight down, I was finding that those loads and stresses were going directly to the muscle that I was trying to hit. What I actually did then is I played around for a number of weeks and months and started formulating what I felt was what was right for my body. And over a period of about 12 years now, with my experience as an amateur athlete, a professional athlete, and the athletes that I've been helping over the last 16 years or so, that I've come to formulate Y3T. This is something that I've had to myself probably for the last 7 years. I didn't bring it out to the open because obviously, like any training nutritionist, you want your athletes to be better than your competitors. As my database of clients became greater, I had to make sure that I treated all my athletes as equals, for instance. There's some athletes who will never be professional bodybuilders. They may never even actually win a state show. But if you can actually help them to become beyond their genetical potential, and you give them a protocol or a program or a dietary or supplement program which is going to enhance them and bring them to the next level, obviously that's exactly as a trained nutritionist what you should be trying to do, for instance. But it doesn't just work for bodybuilders, it can work for every person, every sort of man, lady involved with any sort of form of a physical exercise. Now you know a little bit more about me, let's touch base with our training. The view about Y3T is very much a three-dimensional workout. In my eyes, it's the only three-dimensional workout which is out there, and there's a lot of people trying to jump onto this because they do see it's a new revolution in training principles. Because as I said, in week one you go heavy. It's just like you were being hit, basically, the old Dorian Yates method. Your rep range would be anywhere between 6 or 8 reps. But even when you're doing those rep ranges, it's important that you squeeze and contract the muscle. When you squeeze and contract the muscle, those loads will go directly to the muscle and they'll get taken away from attachment points and bone compounds. And the reason why that takes place is because even though it's a compound movement and it's heavy on week one, for instance, because you're squeezing and contracting, you will never be able to lift the same kind of weight as if you didn't squeeze and contract within the same week, for instance. So week one is compound, week two is compound and isolation movements. As your rep range increases, your number of working sets has to decrease slightly as well. Otherwise you could go into an overtrained mode on week two. And as you increase your rep range in week two, you could say it becomes like a two-dimensional workout. And then week three, when you implement week three, where you're actually doing more rep range, for instance, that's when it becomes more three-dimensional. What I found is that it increases your heart rate, increases the fact that your body is losing body fat. Your cardiovascular system is recovering your body so much quicker because you get more oxygenated and rich blood flow around your body. And then week one, you go back to compound again. Week two, it increases. Week three, it increases again. And then you go back to week one again. It'd normally be sort of a 9-week period. So you do week one, week two, week three, week one, week two, week three, week one, week two, week three, and then you take anywhere between 5 and 7 days off training. I'm finding that more and more athletes are spending more and more time in the gym. As a professional athlete, as an amateur athlete, I only trained 4 days a week. That's all I did. Why did I train 4 days a week? Because my body needed to rest, it needed to recover. You don't grow in the gym, you grow out of the gym. As an athlete or a bodybuilder, people want to be three-dimensional. They want to be turned from in their quarter turns, where you see very few weaknesses, where their intricate tie-ins or muscle groups attach better. You get more flare in, for instance, and that's the beauty about this type of workout. It brings all those three things into play. And what I find is my athletes, they're excited about going into the gyms because they're not bored. It's challenging. It's easier to get under a squat rack and lift 5 or 6 plates if you're a strong bodybuilder. But that bodybuilder who jumps onto that squat racks and lifts 5 to 6 plates on squat rack for sort of 6 to 8 repetitions would much prefer to do that than put 3 plates on the bar and try to do 40 or 50 repetitions. It's more challenging. And if you think of the philosophies behind it all, those loads and stresses are still going to go directly within that muscle. And because the weight is greatly reduced, risk of injury is greatly reduced. Even when you use perfect form, even when you're cautious in the gym, you can pick up injuries. You know, tendonitis is a very, very common injury with all athletes from tennis to baseball to basketball, for instance. And sometimes those injuries are just, there's no logical reasons why they actually take place, for instance, especially with weight training. I think the most important thing is what I would say is definitely get some good rehab. You know, sports massage, in my eyes, is a must. You know, I think people have seen the real benefits of sports massage. Sports massage will really be able to help break down those inflammation in those key areas, ligament and tendon attachments, for instance. Try to be sensible when you're in the gym. Don't lift with ego, lift with sensibility. Now you know a little bit more about the training, follow the page below. Let's talk about nutrition. Nutrition is very much the key of success for any athlete. I was actually a high-level international swimmer as a child. I swam for my home country, which is Wales, back in the UK, from the age of 8 right up to the ages of 16. I also played a high-level sports, including rugby, soccer, and also I was a very high-level surfer, believe it or not. But what actually was never sort of implemented to me when I was actually doing these active sports is nutrition really wasn't important. You know, to eat 1, 2 small, unnutritional meals was no different to maybe somebody who wasn't doing any form of physical exercise. It wasn't an education which was forced upon us, for instance. So I started to buy magazines. I did a little bit of reading, looked at the pictures that these athletes were eating certain foods, for instance. And obviously that then in myself told me I had to change my eating habits around what these athletes were doing. I believe, just like my training, you have to be three-dimensional. Exactly the same as your training and nutrition, you have to be three-dimensional. That means you want to try and get as many key ingredients, vitamins, minerals, trace elements, carbohydrate, proteins, healthy fats, from an array of different forms of foods, for instance. Because if you consistently put every meal as chicken, your body, though it will digest it, over a period of time, it's like you're training. It becomes bored, it becomes stale. Your body doesn't break down those protein bindings in the same ways it does when it's not used to that food, for instance. It endorses it, it draws more nutrients out of that food, for instance. The thing I want to touch on the most, this is what I feel is the most important reason why I see gains with my athletes, is because we eat in the night. Even while they're dieting, they eat in the night. You know, this will actually speed up your metabolism. And even when you're taking really good, slow-release proteins into your bloodstream before you go to bed, by waking up about 3 or 4 hours in the evening, which you should anyway, because obviously the most vital sort of part of your life is water. And I would definitely advise any athlete, irrelevant what type of sport they do, to get a good 5 liters of clean water in a day. Getting into the night time and eating in the middle of the night, to me, it increases your metabolism straight away. It allows your body to sort of really capitalize on those nutrients. And you know, your body is producing growth hormone, your body's recovering. Everybody knows your body doesn't grow and recover in the same way in the gym. Even if you put the right supplements in, it grows out of the gym. It grows at nighttime, for instance. So if you go to bed at say 11 p.m., you get up about 2, 3 a.m. in the morning, you can have a protein shake. Again, make sure it's a time-release protein shake. You can take a small form of complex carbohydrate in, maybe some oatmeal, for instance, mix it up, eat it, and then go back to bed. I'm a big, huge advocate on cheat meals. Even when my guys are dieting for shows, they still get cheat meals. That doesn't necessarily mean they're getting bad foods, for instance, like burgers or fries. but they do get bonuses, for instance, because I need to make sure they get rewarded for their hard work on a weekly basis, for instance. And again, as I said, I keep basing on to be three-dimensional. It's a three-dimensional lifestyle then. You don't have to be this sort of athlete who doesn't think about anything other than eat, sleep, and training. To me, you eat your meals, you forget about training. You don't even think about training until you get to the gym. Try to be a normal human being, get your life and your mind away from being an athlete, and only think about it when you need to think about it. Now we've gone into nutrition, click on the page below to go into my entire program. Now I'm going to talk to you about supplementation. The beauty about supplementation is that when you take it, your body can nearly absorb those things quite instantly because they've already been broken down from their key, say, ingredient, for instance. Like if you were to look at a chicken breast, it's high in protein, it's high in amino acids, for instance, but your body's got to break that source down and actually digest it and put it into the bloodstream. It can be a little hard on your body. It can take an hour and a half, it can take 2 hours. It can sometimes take long for certain types of food to be broken down and utilized by the body. The beauty about supplementation is because they've already been broken down into key elements. Your body can absorb those things very, very quick into your body. You're maximizing everything that you're trying to achieve, and that's obviously maximum performance, bringing your body to the next level, for instance. So supplementation has the benefits of getting into your digestive tract and causing, very quick results very, very quickly. After training, you've got an open window. You've got about 45 to 60 minutes of a window which is open to you as an athlete to capitalize on getting as many key elements into your body as quick as possible to put yourself into a very, very anabolic state. And that will happen straight after your training. And the reason being is because, in a sense, your body has gone into a very negative position. Your mental state is negative, your immune system state is negative, your muscle density has been greatly hit. Your amino acids, your glutamine, those key areas have been damaged in a sense. And the beauty about this open window is your body can absorb more nutrients in that 1 hour after training than any other time of the day. So I would advise a good 50 to 60 grams of fast-acting whey isolate protein of some kind. Another thing that I'm also a big advocate in is making sure you get a really good multivitamin in. Because even though when you're eating balanced, you can see there's consistent balance going on there. The diet is three-dimensional, for instance. The right supplements do taste great. They should taste great. People want to actually buy something which works, but actually buy something which tastes nice. As far as any fears are concerned, is that when you use a brand and you look at studies which prove that these supplements work, you've also got the guarantee that these supplements are actually healthy, for instance. There are some key ingredients in food which are in the supplements anyway. So in a sense, there's a certain amount of nutrients in food which are in key elements of supplementation. And when those supplements are taken in moderation at the right time, for instance, it is only going to be healthy for the athlete, irrespective of what type of sport they do. What you're finding now, nutrition, peak performance, it's gone way beyond where people thought that this would go within any industry, for instance, not just bodybuilding. As I say, we're hitting on track and field. Even the military are pushing their soldiers to make sure that they're using supplementation to get the best performance out of them, for instance. It's so important. It's vital to make sure that you do make maximum gains, peak on that given day, get the best of your workouts, allow your body to work better, grow. It combines everything together. If I had to name my top three then, for instance, then I would definitely say a good quality time-release protein powder. That's definitely. Another one would be a good quality isolate protein powder. And I would say the next thing would be definitely a really good recovery sort of inter-workout drink, which is obviously sort of helping your body slow down the breakdown of muscle tissue, slow down the fact that you've been anabolic in the gym, and it's also slowly starting to allow your body to sort of recover either as well. So that's what I would say my top three is. But in an ideal world, you could probably throw 10 or 15 different other supplements into play. But if you touch on to the fact that making sure that you're eating quality food, different type of food sources, you're going to get lots of different vitamins, minerals, trace elements, different compounds of protein, carbohydrates. So that will have an effect on tying everything in together. To get my full training, nutrition and supplement program, follow the link below, click on the program. I hope that you get a lot of educational material from this to bring you as an athlete, irrespective of what type of sport you do, to the next level. You can do it. And for more information like this, click on bodybuilding.com.